Hey everyone, so today's video is a comparison of these two Alfa Romeo Tonale castings. So the one on my left is from Majorette and the one on my right is from Matchbox. So without further ado, let's just jump into the comparison between these two models. So let's first look at the bottom of the two castings. So as you can see on my left, the Majorette model is made in Thailand. It's scale, so it actually has the scale actually included, and for most Majorette models their scale is slightly larger compared to Matchbox or Hot Wheels. So the scale over here is 1:59, which is indeed larger. So this is the Alfa Romeo Tonale. So that's for the Matchbox. For the Majorette. And as for the Matchbox on the right, we can see that this is actually the 2023 Alfa Romeo Tonale. It's a 2023 casting, and it's made in Thailand. So now both of these have plastic base. So now let's flip over the cars and let's look at the other sides of the cars. So now let's look at the side profiles of the two castings. Again, as you can see, the Majorette casting is huge compared to the Matchbox casting, and I think this is an issue that Majorette has had, and it's prevalent across their street cars as well as their premium cars line. I think their highest end line, the sort of like the collector's model with like the plastic case, that one, the scaling is slightly more, it's closer to 164. However, as you can see, this one is definitely it's closer to 159 as stated. So however, I do think that the overall the casting is still pretty nicely done. It's definitely has very crisp details, and the one thing is the wheels actually I think looks pretty decent on this one, as compared to Matchbox with their more sort of basic wheels. I do prefer the Majorette wheels in this case. I think if you also just look at the doors, you can see that there is a moving part for the Majorette casting. So definitely for the slightly higher price that you pay for the Majorette, you do get something extra. Now I know that some people don't like moving parts, especially for the doors, because it kind of intrudes into the side profile of the car, but personally I do like it. So here I have the Majorette casting with the doors open, and honestly the door opening action is very smooth. And just to take a look at the mechanism, the interior, nothing too special on the interior here, but I do appreciate the opening doors. And something else is that the Majorette casting actually has suspension, whereas the Matchbox will not have any suspension. So that's another point to the Majorette casting, where you actually can have slightly more play value when you purchase a Majorette casting with the higher price tag. Now let's look at the front. Now again, the Majorette casting, their staple is the inserted details for the headlights, and it's a personal preference, but I really do like the inserted details. I think it makes it look more realistic. It's a little bit more interesting. It has the break in the texture of the casting, so I do appreciate that for the Majorette casting. I think if you do compare the fronts of these two particular castings, I do prefer the Majorette on the left, just because how crisp the logo is. The Alfa Romeo logo is super clear, whereas if you look at the Matchbox, it's pretty decent, but it's not as clear as the Majorette. probably also because it's smaller. The headlights as well, I do prefer the inserted details on the Majorette, and the bottom grills I also prefer the Majorette as well because it has the actual grill details. I mean the grill texture being casted in as the plastic piece as part of the bottom of the interior, whereas the Matchbox, it's painted and it just doesn't look as realistic. So I think for the front, the Majorette casting definitely wins. And then finally, let's look at the back of the castings. Now, in this case, they are pretty similar. I would say overall, I would still give the point to the Majorette casting, just simply because again the logos is very clear, whereas on the Matchbox it's slightly less clear. The Tonale, the text, it's very clear on both castings. On the Majorette, you do get the bottom tail lights, which you don't get on the Matchbox. So I think that's really another point to the Majorette. Overall, I would say, if you look at these two castings, definitely for myself, I do prefer the Majorette on the left. I think the front and back details are more nicely done for the Majorette casting, whereas for the Matchbox, it definitely is still a very nice casting. However, when you compare it with Majorette, Majorette looks more realistic in my opinion. And you also do get the opening parts, which I think the door gap is not too bad here, and you do get suspension with Majorette, and you do get slightly nicer wheels in my opinion. However, you do have to pay a slightly higher price, and another thing that's quite important to note is that the scale, it's not 164, it's closer to 159, and or even bigger. So it's definitely going to look a bit strange when you put your Hot Wheels, your Matchbox next to Majorette. It's just going to look huge. So that's definitely a concern if you're building a collection of cars and you have different brands and you're trying to mix them. And I think most brands would be closer to the Matchbox or the Hot Wheels kind of scale, whereas Majorette is just bigger, right? And that's going to be an issue. You can only sort of display Majorette models next to each other, next to one another. So yeah, so overall, I'm curious to hear what you guys think in terms of this comparison. I know that some of you would prefer the Matchbox model, so do let me know your comments and thoughts, and I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. Do you prefer the Matchbox or the Majorette, and your reasons? So yeah, that's the end of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.